What is up, guys? My name is Derek Beaver, and in this video, we are going through my 10-day Italy travel guide so you can start planning your trip to Italy right now. Now, just to preface this video, every single place that I mention in this video are places that I have personally been to and experienced, and so if there's a place that you think should have been mentioned that wasn't, odds are I never went there, and so I'm not going to give you advice on places to go that I haven't yet been to. Now, to start this travel guide, you're going to start your trip in Rome, Italy, which is one of my favorite cities in the entire world. Now, when you land in Rome, one of the first things that's going to be on your mind is what to get to eat, because I'm sure you're hungry after that long flight. And so this part of the video is all the places that I would recommend you have to eat before you leave Rome. Now, I do want to preface this by saying I don't speak Italian.
Buongiorno.
Signore, è un piacere. Gli amici della vedetta ammirata da tutti noi, questa gemma propria della nostra cultura, saranno naturalmente accolti sotto la mia protezione per la durata del loro soggiorno.
Grazie.
So if I mispronounce any of these words, I apologize to anyone who does. It's not my intention to mispronounce any of these. Now, the very first place that you have to get food before you leave Italy is Alfredo alla Scrofa. Now, what this place is it is the birthplace of fettuccine Alfredo, and although you are paying a little bit of a high price for this meal, it is somewhere you absolutely have to experience before you leave Rome, especially if it's within your budget. Now, if I remember correctly, when I went there, I'm pretty sure I spent around 25 euros for my meal, which was just fettuccine Alfredo. I had a water with it. And so you can see the prices are a little high for that plate, but it is paying for that experience, and the taste is definitely worth it. Now, the next place that you have to eat before you leave Italy is actually a more affordable option, and it's called Nanarello. And it's a place that I really enjoyed. They had great pasta, and it was a really good restaurant, and I highly enjoyed it, which is why I want to recommend it to you. Now, this next place is Antica Salumeria, and this was one of my favorite sandwiches I had my entire time in Rome, and probably the entire time I've been alive. The best possible sandwich. It was really affordable, and it was right by the Pantheon, so it works perfectly when you're out. It's a hot day, you're hungry, and you've been seeing the sights all day. It's a quick stop that you can grab something really affordable to eat, and it's absolutely delicious. Now, this last restaurant on this list for restaurants that you have to eat in Rome is Pizza in Trevi. Now, if you can assume by the name, it's right by the Trevi Fountain, which is actually why it made this list. The pizza is really good. Is it the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life? Probably not. But when you're in Italy and you're visiting the Trevi Fountain and it's been a long day, you've been walking, there's nothing better than sipping on a great beer and eating an amazing slice of pizza, and that is why this place makes the list. Now, before we get into the things that you have to see in Rome, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on post notifications so you can see whenever I post videos just like this one. Now, while Rome has amazing food and the best gelato on earth, there are other things to do, like see all of the amazing sights. And that is what this part is, the 4 sites I believe you have to see and you cannot leave Rome without seeing. So the first one is probably pretty obvious. You have to go to the Vatican. The Vatican was probably the best experience I had my entire time in Rome. Unfortunately, I was only there for probably 4 or 5 hours, and I personally believe I could have spent days there. That is how incredible it is. There's like 22 museums throughout. You have St. Peter's Basilica, you have the Sistine Chapel, which is where the Michelangelo paintings are. I mean, just incredible. If you were going to Rome for only one day, this would be the one spot I'd recommend over the Colosseum, over the Trevi Fountain. This was the place that made my trip spectacular. Which leads me into place 2 and 3, the Colosseum and the Trevi Fountain. The Trevi Fountain is really cool to see. You probably only have to see it once. It's not something you need to spend hours at. Get your picture. I'd recommend going earlier in the morning, because once you get to that midday, later in the afternoon, it is insanely busy and you're not going to get a photo. But if you go there early in the morning, see it, get your photo, and then later in the afternoon, go back and you can actually go under the Trevi Fountain. I think it costs like 2 to 3 euros to do, and it's like a little museum tour type thing. But it kind of explains how it was built. There's different things under it. You can see how the water comes down, how it's sent back up, and it's actually a really cool experience. Now, I personally enjoyed more being under the Trevi Fountain because there was less people and it was, more history tied to it than actually seeing it. Obviously, you have to see it at least once, but I feel like once is probably enough. Now, when you think of Rome, you probably think of the Colosseum. So the Colosseum does obviously make this list. The Colosseum is incredible. I only saw it from the outside. You can go inside on tours. I think they cost anywhere from €50 plus. I didn't personally do it. I had some friends that did and they enjoyed it. They thought it was really cool to kind of see the Colosseum from the inside. If you have the money, go for it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But if you don't, seeing it from the outside is just as great, especially if you go during sunrise or sunset. Now, the last place that you need to see before you leave Rome is the Pantheon. Pantheon was incredible. It's free to get in. I think I sat in line for maybe 7-8 minutes before I was actually able to get in, which isn't too bad. But I did go earlier in the morning, and it is incredible to see all of the art and all of the beauty that the Pantheon holds. Now, something else I highly recommend is just taking a day or two to walk the city with no expectations. Don't have an itinerary, maybe plan 1 or 2 things, but for the rest of the day, just walk around, not necessarily aimlessly, but looking for different things to do. Find your favorite gelato, find your favorite pizza spot. Do these things because these memories will last, and it's going to be something that you never forget. Now, a question that I get asked all the time is, how do I get around Italy quickly but also affordably? Now, the answer to that is you have to use the metro. The metro is incredible. If I remember correctly, it's probably about €4 to €5, and that gives you a 24-hour pass, which absolutely makes sense to do this because taxis can be incredibly expensive and you can save so much money using the metro. And once you figure out all the metro stops, it's super easy to do. They have apps for it, they have maps within the metro, and you can get dropped off in front of almost every single major site that you want to see. Now, before I get into the second section of this travel guide, make sure that you leave a comment about what places in Italy you have been and you would recommend to me for next time I go. Now, to finish off your 10-day trip, you have to go down to Sicily and just lounge by the beach. Sicily was one of the most incredible parts of Italy, and I loved every single second of it. So when I stayed in Sicily, I personally stayed in Alcamo Marina, and that was kind of northwest Sicily. It was incredibly beautiful, super small town. They had one restaurant that served like pizza, pasta, and wine, obviously. And then they had a little bakery that also dubbed as a sandwich shop, a coffee shop, a bar, and a gelatery. So it kind of did all of the things. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for a couple days to just lounge on the beach, get some rest after spending a couple days running around the city of Rome. And like I just said, it's a place just to get away. It's incredible. It's extremely quiet. Everyone is so kind. And although people don't really speak English there, you can get by with slight Italian and broken English. Now, the place I personally stayed, I booked off of Booking.com, which I usually don't recommend, but there wasn't a lot of options in other spots like Airbnb, so this was kind of where we went with Booking.com. And the place we booked was the cutest little house. It had an outdoor shower, an indoor shower. I think it had 2 full bathrooms on the inside, then the outdoor shower. It had 3 bedrooms, it had a full kitchen, it had a living room, and then it had a nice place to lounge outside in the sun, and just beautifully kept, and the owners were incredibly nice and kind. Now, the place on Booking is called Villa del Sole Sicilia, and this is a place I would highly recommend if you are looking for that kind of getaway vacation or travel. It's great. It has everything you would want in a spot. The only thing you have to consider is there's not really grocery stores there, and so you need to be able to rent a car. Renting a car is super important if you're staying in this specific area because, like I said, it's a small town. Now, if you're okay eating pizza for lunch and dinner and then getting a nice little pastry for breakfast every day and just sitting by the beach all day, you don't need to rent a car. You're going to be just fine staying in this spot and just eating at those couple restaurants that are literally walking distance away. But if you do kind of want that experience of seeing other spots of Sicily, which I highly recommend, you're gonna want to rent a car. Now, some activities that you have to think about is obviously sitting by the beach. What other activity do you need? And secondly, go to Del Golfo, which is a little town next to Alcamo Marina. It's probably about a 15-minute drive. For us, it was a little longer because there was construction going on the main path. and so we couldn't actually get to it. We had to go around, which took more time, but 15 minutes isn't terrible. And once you get there, there's a whole marina, boats, it's absolutely beautiful, and then you can shop around. There's a lot of boat rentals. Some people do solos, where it's a little boat that'll take you to point A, point B. They have fishing boats, but my favorite was the bigger tour boats actually. And the reason why is because it takes you to a couple different stops all over Sicily, and it's an all-day tour. Now the reason why I recommend the bigger boats is because a lot of people do get seasick, and so this kind of helps the prevention of seasickness, where the smaller boats don't really get that. And then also, if you're going to be on a boat, odds are it's pretty hot outside. These bigger boats have the covering, so you're not going to get sunburnt, while the little boats do not, so you're going to be baking in the sun all day. Now when I went, there were 7 of us that booked this. We got it for a cheaper rate. It was like 20 euros a person, and it was all day. They took us out to a point in western Sicily, which was incredible, and we spent all day there. And it was something I highly, highly recommend that you do if you're staying in Al Como Marina. Now the big question: how do I separate this trip to be efficient, to see what I want to see, and to do everything I want to do? So when I personally did it, we did do 10 days, and we did it differently because we were on a really tight budget and Rome can be pretty expensive. So how we did it is we did 4 days in Rome, 6 days in Sicily, and it was absolutely incredible. We got exactly what we wanted, but if I were to go back now, there are some things that I would change. The first thing that I would change is I would be in Rome a little bit longer. There's a lot to see in Rome, and so if you have the budget for it, I would highly recommend, if you're only going for 10 days and you want to see more than one place in Italy, I would 6-7 days in Rome is perfect. But then when I say 6 or 7 days, that only leaves you 3 to 4 days in Sicily, which if you're only looking to lounge on the beach, actually is a pretty good deal. 3-4 days on the beach is perfect. You kind of rejuvenate, get ready to go back to your home country or to your next travel destination. And it's a great way to kind of decompress from what Rome had to offer. But if you're looking to travel around Sicily, then I would recommend probably doing a little bit less in Rome, probably 5 days Rome, 5 days Sicily would be perfect. But like I said, if you're lounging on the beach, a 6-7 day Rome and a 3 to 4 day Sicily is perfect, and you won't need anything else. Thank you guys so much for watching this travel guide. If you found anything in this video helpful, or you're gonna book your trip right away, let me know in the comments, and make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications so you can see my next travel guide. Well, that's all for me, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.